6 bodies lay scattered across the moonlit farm. Outlaw leader Red counted them through blurry, drunk eyes. These weren't his men. Those are the ones who made it to the fence, a calm voice said from the darkness. A silver-haired man stepped into view, holding a combat knife with practiced ease. Behind him, a teenage girl loaded another round into a shotgun. Red's blood froze. He recognized that face from military wanted posters. The Martinez family, the ones who'd wiped out the Taliban's entire leadership in one night. "Please," Red whimpered, watching his remaining men get picked off by unseen snipers. "We didn't know." The old man's smile was colder than death. "Now you do. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you." The Martinez farm stood like a fortress disguised as paradise. 200 acres of corn and wheat surrounded the main compound, where 3 generations had built more than just a homestead. They'd created a sanctuary. Miguel Martinez, at 65, moved with the same deadly grace that had made him a legend in special forces. His weathered hands, equally skilled at tending crops and handling weapons, guided his grandchildren through their morning routine. 20 years of retirement hadn't dulled his instincts. They'd only made them sharper. His daughter Eleanor, former Army combat medic, managed the farm's medical supplies with military precision. The barn's hidden room housed enough equipment to run a field hospital. Her steady hands had saved lives in Baghdad and now kept the family healthy through every harvest season. Carlos, her husband, had traded his Marine Scout sniper scope for a farmer's tools, but his eyes never stopped scanning the horizon. 3 hunting blinds around the property were really sniper nests. Every morning he checked their equipment while pretending to inspect the irrigation systems. Their children carried their parents' legacy in their blood. Maria, 17, could field strip a rifle faster than she could braid her hair. She'd learned to drive by maneuvering heavy farm equipment through obstacle courses her grandfather designed. Juan, 15, had inherited his father's marksman eyes and his mother's steady hands. Even 12-year-old Anna could handle herself in the family's daily combat training sessions, disguised as innocent farm games. The farm's security systems were hidden in plain sight. Motion sensors nestled among the scarecrows. Security cameras peered through old barn windows. The innocent-looking grain silos housed enough ammunition and supplies to withstand a siege. Every building had reinforced walls and multiple escape routes. Even the chicken coop doubled as a concealed observation post, but to their neighbors, the Martinezes were just hard-working farmers who helped during emergencies and contributed generously to community events. No one questioned why their crops always seemed to grow in tactical patterns, or why their barn doors were thick enough to stop bullets. Dawn broke over the Martinez farm, like it did every morning, with the sound of boots hitting dirt. Maria was first out, scanning the perimeter while pretending to check the chicken feed. Juan took up his position in the grain silo's upper window, disguising his morning watch as routine maintenance. Little Anna started her morning dance routine, actually a series of combat moves her grandfather had taught her, adapted to look like a child's play. Elena's voice carried across the yard, calling everyone for breakfast. Her medical bay checklist complete, she'd prepared enough food to feed an army, or at least her hungry family. The kitchen table was positioned to give clear sight lines through reinforced windows on all sides. Each family member sat with their backs to a wall, an ingrained habit none of them discussed. "Irrigation check today," Carlos announced. "Code 4, their weekly security sweep." He buttered his toast with the same precision he'd once used to clean his sniper rifle. "Maria, you take the north quadrant. Juan, you're on drone duty." "Drone duty?" Anna whined, knowing she'd been left out again. "I can help too." Miguel lowered his coffee cup, eyes twinkling. "Actually, Pequeña, I need your help in the barn. Those new calves need someone small and quick to check on them. What he didn't say was that the barn's hidden armory needed reorganizing, and Anna's small hands were perfect for maintaining their smaller caliber weapons. The morning unfolded like a well-rehearsed mission. Eleanor tended to her herb garden, medicinal plants carefully organized by their therapeutic properties, each one labeled with both their common name and their battlefield applications. Carlos disappeared into his workshop, where he spent hours maintaining equipment that had nothing to do with farming. Maria took the massive tractor out, her practice runs actually testing the farm's defensive trenches and barriers. She'd learned to handle the machine like a tank, thanks to her grandfather's lessons. Juan's drone, supposedly for crop monitoring, mapped approach vectors and blind spots around the property. Lunch brought them together again, a ritual as much about information, sharing as eating. Baker's daughter got engaged, Elena mentioned casually, meaning their closest neighbors to the north had visitors. Thompson's new hands start next week, Carlos added, alerting everyone to expect new faces on the adjacent property. The afternoon. Each brought more tasks disguised as chores. Target practice became tin can shooting behind the barn. Obstacle course training was hidden in playground games. Every activity served two purposes: maintaining the farm and keeping their skills sharp. As evening approached, the family's activities wound down in careful stages. Ina collected eggs while checking the perimeter sensors. Juan refilled water troughs, testing their emergency water purification system. Maria's evening run traced their escape routes, her times carefully logged and improved. Miguel watched it, all from his rocking chair on the porch, his practiced eye catching every detail. To anyone passing by, he was just an old man enjoying the sunset. They wouldn't notice how his chair was positioned to cover all approaches, or that his walking stick was reinforced steel, perfectly balanced for combat. The evening settled over the farm like a warm blanket, but something felt off. Miguel noticed it first. The birds had gone quiet 10 minutes earlier than usual. His hand instinctively moved closer to the hidden compartment in his rocking chair. Inside, Elena was preparing dinner, her movements precise as she chopped vegetables. The kitchen radio crackled with police chatter, disguised as country music. She caught fragments about a gang of drunk outlaws causing trouble 2 counties over. "Dinner's ready," she called out, her voice carrying hidden meaning. Code phrase, "Be alert." The family gathered around the table, looking casual but combat-ready. Carlos had counted 3 unfamiliar vehicles on the main road during his afternoon patrol. Juan reported drone footage of tire tracks where there shouldn't be any. Maria mentioned that Thompson's dogs had been barking more than usual. "Pass the potatoes, abuelo," Anna said cheerfully, using their danger signal. She'd spotted movement in the corn while collecting eggs. "Beautiful sunset," Miguel responded, confirming he'd seen it too. His weathered fingers drummed a military Morse code on the table. Possible hostiles. Elena served generous portions, each plate positioned to allow quick movement from the table. The loaded shotgun beneath matched the tablecloth's pattern perfectly. Carlos had already activated the security camera's night vision mode from his phone under the table. "Maybe we should have some target practice tomorrow," Maria suggested, meaning she'd already loaded all their defensive positions. Juan nodded, indicating the drone was charged and ready. Anna swung her legs under the table, hitting the lever that would activate the property's external lights if needed. Through the window, they watched the sun sink below the horizon. Long shadows crept across the fields like fingers. The corn stalks swayed in patterns that weren't quite natural. Someone was moving through them. Miguel shared a look with Carlos. Both men had counted at least 6 different movement patterns. In the crops, Elena's hand brushed against the medical kit hidden in the kitchen island. The children maintained their cheerful dinner conversation while their eyes tracked every shadow. "Time for dessert," Elena announced, activating the farm's silent alarm system with a hidden switch. The security lights remained dark, giving no indication that the family was aware of their visitors. The evening routine continued as normal, but with subtle changes. Dishes were washed and put away, all metal ones that could deflect bullets. Anna was sent upstairs to finish homework, really to man the second-floor observation post. Juan's bedroom light went on, but he took position in the attic sniper nest. Miguel rocked on the porch, humming an old war song. His keen eyes caught the glint of moonlight on gun barrels in the distance. The old warrior smiled grimly. These foolish intruders had no idea what they were walking into. The first sign of the assault came with drunken laughter. 3 pickup trucks roared down the farm's access road, high beams blazing, country music blasting. Inside the house, Miguel's lip curled. Amateurs. They'd just sacrificed their night vision and announced their presence to everyone within a mile. "Showtime," he whispered into his hidden comm unit. The family's practice moves shifted into action without a word spoken aloud. Elena's fingers flew across her phone, activating preset defensive protocols. The irrigation system quietly began flooding the eastern field, turning solid ground into mud that would trap vehicles. Carlos melted into the shadows of the barn's upper level, his sniper rifle already trained on the approaching trucks. The vehicles skidded to a stop at the main gate. 8 men stumbled out, bottles in hand, shotguns and rifles carried with dangerous carelessness. Their leader, a red-faced man in a leather vest, fired twice into the air. "Come on out, farmers," he bellowed. "We're having a party tonight." Miguel watched through thermal imaging as 4 more figures crept through the corn, trying to flank the property. They didn't notice the motion sensors they triggered, or the silent alerts lighting up the family's phones. Maria and Juan had already moved to their defensive positions. Anna maintained her observation post, small hands steady on her communication tablet as she tracked the intruders' movements. Every family member could see the tactical display Elena had designed, showing the hostiles as red dots on their property's digital layout. The drunk leader fired again, taking out one of the porch lights. "Don't make us come in there. We just want your valuables and maybe some entertainment." Miguel's calm voice came through everyone's earpiece. "Remember your training. No one engages unless threatened. Let them make the first mistake." He paused, then added what he'd already confirmed through his thermal scope. "They're carrying mixed weapons, some military grade. These aren't just drunk locals." Carlos's voice crackled back. "Confirmed. 2 of the flankers have professional stance despite pretending to stumble. Be advised, possible trained hostiles mixed with drunk cannon fodder." The intruders spread out, gaining confidence from the farm's apparent silence. They didn't notice how the darkness around them was alive with practiced movement, how every shadow concealed a defender who knew this land intimately. Elena's voice came through next, cool and professional. "Medical station prepped, all emergency exits confirmed clear, backup communications online." In the hidden room beneath the barn, she had everything ready for any casualties. Though she hoped they wouldn't be from her family, the Martinez farm had become a chessboard, each piece in position. Now they just waited for the enemy's next move. The first shot came from the intruders, a slug that shattered the kitchen window. Elena didn't even flinch as glass rained down on the counter where she'd been standing moments before. The bullet embedded itself in the reinforced wall, exactly where the family had predicted stray fire would land. "Green light," Miguel's voice came through the comms. "Defensive protocols authorized." Juan's drone hummed to life, its infrared cameras painting a perfect picture of the battlefield. One of the professional hostiles spotted it, raising his rifle. Before he could shoot, Carlos's first round found its mark. The man dropped silently. "Into the corn, 1 down," Carlos reported, moving to secondary position. The drunk raiders didn't notice their comrades fall, too busy shooting up the farmhouse's facade. Maria waited until they'd wasted half their ammunition before triggering the first trap. The flooded eastern field suddenly lit up with hidden ground lights, disorienting the flanking team. 2 men slipped in the mud, their weapons falling from drunken hands. "West side clear," Anna's young voice reported with practiced calm. No movement in sectors 7 through 12. The raiders' leader, growing frustrated with the lack of response, ordered his men forward. They didn't make it 10 steps before Miguel's first warning shot kicked up dirt at their feet. Last chance. His voice boomed from hidden speakers across the property. Leave now. The response was a barrage of wild shooting. Bullets pinged harmlessly off reinforced walls and armored windows. The family waited patiently, letting their attackers reveal their positions and waste ammunition. Then, one drunk raider made the fatal mistake of trying to throw a Molotov cocktail at the barn. Maria's shot caught the bottle in mid-air. The explosion engulfed the thrower and 2 of his companions in their own fire. 3 more down, she reported, already moving to her next position. The remaining raiders finally realized they weren't dealing with ordinary farmers. The 2 professionals tried to organize a retreat, but the flooding had trapped their vehicles in mud. They were committed now, whether they liked it or not. Elena's voice cut through the comms. 4 more vehicles approaching from the south road. Thermal signatures suggest at least 12 more hostiles. Miguel's expression hardened. This was no random drunk raid. Someone had planned this, using the drunk locals as a noisy distraction while the real force moved in. Miguel's mind raced through decades of combat experience as he coordinated his family's defense. The barn would be their command center. Reinforced walls, clear sightlines, and multiple escape routes made it perfect. Eleanor, medical station. Status? He asked, moving silently through the shadows. Ready, secondary supplies distributed to all fallback points. Her voice was steady, already in combat medic mode. Trauma kits in positions 3, 6, and 9. Maria, get the harvester. Ready, Miguel ordered. 1, deploy secondary drones. Anna, time for the chicken coop protocol. The family moved like a well-oiled machine. Maria slipped through the darkness toward the massive harvester, its bulk modified with reinforced plating and ram bars. Juan's fingers flew across his tablet, launching 3 more drones. Smaller, harder to spot, armed with flashbang charges. Anna, despite her age, showed no fear as she raced to the chicken coop. The innocent-looking structure housed their backup communications and monitoring systems. Within minutes, she had their secondary radar system online, tracking every movement across the property. Carlos's voice crackled through. 6 hostiles moving in tactical formation, southeast quadrant. Military training confirmed. They're using standard Marine Corps hand signals. Elena responded immediately, deploying countermeasures in sectors 5 through 8. With a few taps on her tablet, she activated the buried speakers that would project false movement sounds through the corn. Miguel made his way to the barn's upper level, where he'd established the perfect command position. Ancient hay bales concealed, state-of-the-art monitoring equipment. From here, he could direct his family like pieces on a chessboard. They're splitting into 3 teams. Juan reported from his drone feed. 2 flanking, 1 preparing for frontal assault. Just like we. Drilled, Miguel replied. Maria, position the harvester to cut off their eastern escape route. Carlos, focus on their leadership. Elena, activate the ground sensors in the western field. Each family member acknowledged with practiced efficiency. They'd rehearsed this scenario countless times, though never expected to use it. Years of training, disguised as farm work and family games, were about to pay off. Remember, Miguel added, his voice carrying the weight of experience, these aren't drunk amateurs anymore. Maintain calm discipline. Watch your sectors. No unnecessary risks. He paused, then added softly, I love you all. Now let's show them why you don't attack a military family. The professional assault team moved with practiced precision through the cornfield, but they were playing on the Martinez family's home turf. Every step took them deeper into a carefully prepared killing ground. 3 minutes to contact, Juan whispered through the comms, his drone tracking the enemy's movement. They're using a standard pincer formation. Carlos's rifle cracked once, twice. 2 attackers dropped. "Leaders down," he reported calmly, already shifting position. The remaining hostiles immediately adapted, showing their training as they sought. In cover, from her position in the harvester, Maria watched her thermal display. The enemy's flanking team was moving right where they wanted them. She engaged the massive machine's engine, its deep rumble carrying across the farm. The attackers hesitated, unsure whether it was a threat or normal farm activity. Their hesitation proved fatal. Juan triggered his drone's flashbangs, the explosions shattering the night. Disoriented attackers stumbled into Elena's pre-sighted kill zones. "West team entering Sector 7, Anna reported from her monitoring station. She might be young, but her voice remained steady. "They're approaching the irrigation trap." Miguel's finger tapped his comm unit. "Spring it." Pressurized irrigation pipes burst on command, the high-pressure spray disorienting the Western attack. "Team!" Carlos's rifle sang again, picking off the struggling hostiles with surgical precision. "Movement at the main gate," Elena cut in. 3 vehicles, heavy weapons mounted. Through their tactical displays, the family watched as more hostiles deployed around the farm's perimeter. These weren't just professionals, they were equipped like a military unit. "They're setting up a proper siege," Miguel observed, his tactical mind assessing the threat. This was planned. The drunk locals were just cannon fodder. The night erupted in automatic weapons fire. Tracer rounds lit up the darkness as the hostiles launched their first coordinated assault. The Martinez family's defenses answered in kind, years of preparation meeting military-grade hardware head-on. Maria revered the harvester's engine, its massive frame now a mobile fortress. The reinforced cab could withstand small arms fire, and the modified threshing mechanisms had become deadly weapons. She pushed forward, the machine's huge bulk forcing the attackers to abandon their positions. "Fertilizer trap armed in Sector 4, Juan reported, his drone providing overhead coverage. The innocent-looking bags of fertilizer scattered across the field were actually improvised explosive devices, waiting for Miguel's signal. Elena's voice crackled through the comms. "They're trying to flank through the irrigation ditches." She activated the secondary water pumps, flooding the channels with enough force to sweep grown men off their feet. 2 hostiles surfaced, sputtering and disoriented, perfect targets for Carlos's rifle. "Anna, activate the silo defense," Miguel commanded. The 12-year-old's fingers flew across her tablet, and suddenly the grain silo's automated loading system sprang to life. Thousands of pounds of grain poured out, creating an impassable barrier between the attackers and their vehicles. The family had transformed every piece of farm equipment into a weapon. Tractors became mobile cover, plowing equipment turned into makeshift barricades. Even the automated sprinkler system had been modified to spray blinding mists of water mixed with farm chemicals, creating a disorienting fog. "Watch your 3 o'clock, Carlos warned as he spotted movement near the equipment shed. "They're trying to use our own machinery." Miguel smiled grimly. "Let them try." Every piece of equipment on the farm had been modified with hidden kill switches. The moment the hostiles attempted to start the backup tractor, they found themselves trapped in a dead machine as Juan's drone dropped flashbangs around them. Maria maneuvered the harvester in a wide arc, its whirling thresher units forcing the attackers to retreat from their covered positions. The few who stood their ground learned too late why farming equipment demanded such respect. 2 more vehicles approaching from the north, Anna reported, her young voice professional despite the chaos. Different signatures from the others, heavier, possibly armored. Elena quickly accessed the farm's security cameras. Military surplus. They're bringing in serious hardware. She paused, then added, "Recognized one of them? Former special forces, gone mercenary. These aren't random attackers anymore." Miguel processed this information, his tactical mind already formulating new strategies. "They knew who we were from the start," he concluded. "The drunk locals were just testing our defenses." He switched to the general channel. "Everyone, fall back to secondary positions. This is about to get much more interesting." The family executed their rehearsed withdrawal, each member covering the others. Years of drills, disguised as family activities, had prepared them for exactly this scenario. Even as they pulled back, their automated defenses continued to harass the attackers. Motion-activated lights, pre-recorded sounds playing through, hidden speakers, and remote-controlled equipment moving through the darkness. "Time to show them why you don't bring military hardware to a farm fight," Miguel announced, his finger hovering over the master control for their most devastating countermeasures. The real battle was about to begin. The armored vehicles crashed through the farm's outer fence, their reinforced frames gleaming under the moonlight. Behind their bulletproof glass, trained mercenaries scanned the property with night vision equipment. They expected to find a family. In retreat, instead they found a battlefield transformed. "Target Vehicle 1 approaching the barn," Juan called out, his drones tracking the threat. "50 caliber mounted gun." Miguel's voice remained steady. "Maria, you know what to do." The harvester roared to life again, but this time Maria wasn't aiming for the vehicles. Instead, she charged through the cornfield, the massive machine's blades cutting down rows of corn. Suddenly, the armored vehicles' drivers found their visibility reduced to zero as clouds of dust, corn silk and debris filled the air. "Thermal imaging compromised," Carlos reported with satisfaction. The combination of dust and the heat from the destroyed crops was playing havoc with the enemy's sophisticated equipment. Elena triggered the next phase of their defense. Underground sprinklers activated, but instead of water, they sprayed a mixture of fertilizer and diesel fuel. The foggy mixture further confused the attackers' senses while making the ground treacherously slick. The mercenaries' response was immediate and professional. Teams deployed from the vehicles, using practice formations, but each step taken revealed how badly they'd underestimated their opponents. "They're moving into Grid 9, Anna reported from her observation post. "Right where we want them." Miguel pressed his command tablet. The irrigation ditches, now dry after Eleanor's earlier flooding, suddenly blazed with burning fuel. Flames encircled the mercenary teams, trapping them in pre-designated killing zones. "Contact rear." Juan's warning came just as a third vehicle attempted to flank through the western field. But the family had prepared for this too. Carlos's rifle barked twice, not at the vehicle, but at the hidden charges planted days ago during routine fence maintenance. The explosions didn't damage the armored vehicle, but they collapsed the ground beneath it, trapping it in a prepared pit. "Multiple hostiles north perimeter," Elena called out. "They're using smoke grenades to cover their advance." Miguel watched through his thermal scope as the mercenaries moved with professional precision through their own smoke. "Let them come," he said quietly. "Everyone hold positions. Let's show them why you don't bring urban warfare tactics to a farm." The smoke spread across the battlefield, thick and disorienting. But for the Martinez family, every inch of their land was mapped in memory. They didn't need to see to know where the ditches lay, where the equipment was parked, or where the dangerous terrain was. Complete darkness settled over the farm as clouds covered the moon. The mercenaries flicked on their night vision gear, feeling confident in their technological advantage. It would prove to be their greatest mistake. They're switching to IR illuminators, Juan reported, watching through his drone's thermal imaging. "All units running active night vision." Miguel's voice carried a hint of satisfaction. "Perfect. Elena, initiate protocol Dark Horse." Suddenly, powerful UV strobes hidden throughout the property began pulsing at random intervals. The mercenaries' night vision equipment amplified each flash into blinding bursts of light, forcing them to either remove their goggles or risk seizures. "My favorite part," Maria whispered from the harvester's cab. She activated the machine's modified headlights, powerful ultraviolet LEDs that appeared dim to the naked eye but overwhelmed night vision devices. Carlos had already switched to his backup scope, an old-fashioned but reliable optical sight. 6 targets disoriented Sector 4, he reported. His rifle cracked methodically in the darkness. Correction, no targets in Sector 4. Anna's voice came through the comms. Second team trying to navigate by flashlight, approaching the east. Barn. She paused, monitoring her screens. They found the fake door. The door was actually a carefully constructed trap, leading into a maze of false passages under the barn. As the mercenaries breached it, they found themselves in a labyrinth of mirrors and LED strips, completely losing their sense of direction. Remember when you thought I was crazy for installing those funhouse mirrors? Elena's voice carried a touch of pride. They're not laughing now. The family had trained extensively for night combat, but not with expensive military gear. They'd learned to fight using their other senses. Every creaking board, every rustling cornstalk, every shift in the wind told them a story. Movement in the corn maze, Juan reported. His drones, running passive thermal imaging, tracked heat signatures through the property. They're splitting up. Miguel nodded in the darkness. They're getting desperate. Carlos, Maria, heard them toward the silos. The night erupted in controlled chaos. Maria's harvester pushed through the cornfield, creating walls of fallen stalks that forced the mercenaries to move in predictable directions. Carlos's precisely placed shots eliminated any who tried to double back. 2 trying to reach their vehicles, Anna reported, her young voice steady despite the intensity of the battle. They're using the drainage ditch for cover. Not anymore. Elena responded, triggering the emergency drainage protocols. Years of farming had taught them how to manipulate water flow across their land. The ditch flooded instantly, leaving the mercenaries scrambling for new cover that didn't exist. The mercenary commander slammed his fist against the armored vehicle's panel. Nothing was going according to plan. His night vision equipment was useless, his men were scattered, and his tactical advantage had evaporated. They'd lost 8 operators. In less than an hour, to farmers. Sir, Team 2 is offline, his radio operator reported, voice tense. Last transmission mentioned something about mirrors and lights. They're completely disoriented. Inside the Martinez command center, Miguel watched the enemy's frustration build through his surveillance system. They're starting to crack, he observed. Time to push them over the edge. All units, he commanded. Execute Operation Scarecrow. The family's response was immediate and coordinated. Maria revved the harvester's engine, its massive frame emerging from the darkness like a mechanical monster. Juan's drones descended to treetop level, their modified speakers broadcasting the recorded sounds of multiple vehicles and movement from all directions. Target their command vehicle, Miguel ordered. Carlos, range calculated. The former sniper responded. Wind speed adjusted. His rifle cracked 3 times in rapid succession. The armored vehicle's antenna array shattered, cutting off their long-range communications. Elena activated the farm's hidden speaker system. The sound of her voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, distorted and threatening. You're in our kill zone. Every step you take, every move you make, we've planned for it months ago. The psychological warfare was having its effect. The mercenaries' tight formation began to loosen as fear set in. Their training demanded they hold positions, but their instincts screamed to run. Western team attempting to retreat, Anna reported, from her monitoring station. They're heading straight for the pit traps. Let them, Miguel commanded. Juan, light it up. The drone's spotlights illuminated the western field just as 2 mercenaries fell into the concealed pits. Their screams of surprise and frustration echoed across the property. Commanders starting to move, Carlos reported, tracking through his scope. He's ordering a general retreat. But retreat wasn't possible anymore. Maria had strategically positioned the harvester to block their main escape route. The irrigation system had turned other paths into muddy swamps. Every apparent exit led to another trap. "They're breaking formation," Juan announced, his drone footage showing the mercenary team splintering. "Every man for himself," Miguel's voice carried decades of combat experience as he addressed his family. "This is the dangerous part. Desperate men make deadly mistakes. Stay alert." As if confirming his warning, one of the mercenaries began firing wildly into the darkness, wasting ammunition and revealing his position. The professional operation had devolved into chaos. "Remember," Miguel added, "we're not just defending our farm anymore, we're sending a message. Nobody threatens our family and walks away to try again." The night was far from over, but the tide had turned definitively. The hunters had become the hunted, and the Martinez family was about to demonstrate why their reputation in the Special Forces community had been legendary. A voice cut through the chaos, stopping Miguel cold in his tracks. It came from the mercenary commander's channel, which they'd been monitoring. "Ghost of Kandahar, you've still got it, old friend." Miguel's hand tightened on his rifle. That voice. He hadn't heard it in 15 years, not since that bloody night in Afghanistan. "Everyone hold position," he ordered through the family comm. Then switching to the enemy frequency, "Jackson Cooper, I thought you died in that cave." "You left me to die," Cooper's voice crackled back. 3 days I lay there, gut shot, waiting for extraction that never came, because the legendary Ghost of Kandahar reported me killed in action." Through his scope, Carlos spotted the commander emerging from his vehicle. Even in the darkness, the scars on his face were visible. "Dad," he whispered to Miguel through the private channel, "I've got a clean shot." "Hold," Miguel responded, his mind racing through that fateful night. "Cooper's not telling the whole story." Elena's voice came through, tense with concern. "Miguel, what's happening?" "Your father-in-law has some explaining to do," Cooper announced on the open channel, "about how he sacrificed his own team to maintain his perfect mission record, about the real reason he retired." Maria watched from the harvester as more mercenaries emerged, weapons lowered. "They're standing down," she reported, "but staying in defensive positions." "You know, that's not what happened," Miguel replied to Cooper. "You were selling intel to the Taliban. I caught you in the act. The cave wasn't an accident, it was justice." A bitter laugh echoed through the radio. "And who's going to believe that? Your word against mine? I spent 15 years building this moment, finding others you'd wronged, gathering evidence." Anna's young voice cut through the family's comm. Multiple vehicles approaching, different direction than the others, military signatures. "That'll be my insurance policy," Cooper said smugly. "See, this isn't just about revenge. By tomorrow morning, your reputation, your legend, everything you built, it all comes crashing down, and your family gets to watch." The night air crackled with tension as Cooper's revelation hung heavy over the farm. Through their tactical displays, the Martinez family watched more vehicles approaching, sleek, black SUVs with diplomatic plates. "Those aren't military," Elena observed, her experienced eye catching details. "Private security contractors, probably Blackwater alumni." "You're right about one thing, Cooper," Miguel responded, his voice carrying across the battlefield. "This isn't just about revenge. You're running protection for the cartels now, aren't you?" Cooper's laugh was cold. "Still sharp as ever, Ghost. This farm sits on the perfect smuggling route. We needed it cleared, and ruining you in the process, that's just a bonus." Juan's drone feed showed the new vehicles forming a perimeter. "These guys are different," he reported. "Professional stance, top-tier gear. These are the real heavy hitters. The drunk locals, the mercenaries, all just theater," Miguel explained to his family through their private channel. "They wanted us to exhaust our resources before the real threat arrived." "Remember that Taliban intel you caught me selling?" Cooper continued. Small time. I've spent 15 years building connections, working my way up. Now I've got judges, politicians, cartel lords, all agreeing that Miguel Martinez is a liability that needs to be eliminated. Carlos's voice was tight with anger. We've got evidence of his confession. We can fight this. No, we can't, Elena cut in, her tactical mind racing ahead. Think about it. The diplomatic plates, the high-level connections. They're going to make this look like a legitimate operation. By morning, this farm will be a discovered drug operation, and we'll be the criminals. Smart woman, Cooper commented, having hacked their communication frequency. Your whole security system, your weapons, your modifications to farming equipment, it all becomes evidence of a cartel operation. Your military backgrounds make you perfect fall guys. Maria's hands gripped the harvester's controls. So what's the play here? We either surrender and go to prison, or resist and die as drug lords in a raid. Now you're getting it, Cooper said. And the best part, your father's reputation doesn't just die, it becomes a cautionary tale. The decorated war hero who came home and built a drug empire. Anna's voice suddenly cut through the tension. Grandfather, the backup server is showing multiple incoming connections. They're trying to plant digital evidence in our systems. Miguel's mind raced through options. Everything they'd prepared, every defense they'd created, had been based on repelling physical attacks. But this was a different kind of warfare. You built this plan for 15 years, Cooper? Miguel finally spoke. I've spent those same 15 years preparing for something much worse than you. Miguel's fingers flew across his command tablet, initiating protocols he'd hoped never to use. Elena, activate Shadow Protocol. Juan, switch all drones to bandwidth Echo 7. Maria, fall back to position 0. Anna, execute Operation Blackout. The family responded without question, years of drilling these emergency measures paying off. Elena reached beneath the medical station, revealing a hidden safe. Inside lay a set of encrypted hard drives, documentation of every criminal operation they'd discovered while managing their farm. 15 years of evidence, Elena confirmed. Every cartel movement, every corrupt official, every bribed cop. We didn't just build defenses, Cooper. We've been building a case. Juan's drones suddenly switched frequencies, breaking free from the attackers' jamming attempts. Drones repositioned, starting surveillance upload to offshore servers. Maria backed the harvester into a seemingly ordinary equipment shed. As the doors closed, hydraulic lifts engaged, lowering the massive machine into a concealed underground bay. Position 0 secured, mobile command center online. Anna's fingers danced across her tablet. Initiating blackout in 3, 2, 1. Suddenly, every digital device within a mile radius went dark. The attackers' communications, their sophisticated surveillance equipment, even their vehicles' electronic systems, all dead. What you never understood, Cooper, Miguel's voice echoed through his old backup radio frequency, is that I didn't retire to become a farmer. I retired to build a watchtower. Through their backup night vision systems, the family watched the professional security teams scrambling to restore their equipment. Cooper's voice crackled through their emergency channel, showing the first signs of uncertainty. You think some evidence will matter? We own the system. No, Elena responded, coordinating with her international contacts from her medical station. You just rented it. Right now, every piece of evidence we've collected is being transmitted to Interpol, FBI, and 5 other agencies. Plus every major news outlet in the country. Carlos's rifle cracked once, disabling the satellite uplink on one of the diplomatic vehicles. No more calls for backup, he reported. They're cut off. This farm isn't just a fortress, Miguel continued, his voice carrying the weight of 15 years of patience. It's a trap. Every cartel shipment you routed near us, every corrupt deal you made in our surveillance range, we documented it all, waiting for you to make your move. Maria's voice came through next. Underground command center fully operational. I'm seeing Multiple law enforcement units mobilizing within 50 miles. Real ones, not the bought ones. Here's what happens next, Miguel addressed Cooper directly. Those diplomatic vehicles? Their GPS has been broadcasting their location to federal authorities for the past hour. Your corrupt officials? They're about to discover their offshore accounts empty, their evidence against us replaced with proof of their own crimes. Anna's young voice carried a hint of pride. All automated systems transferred to backup power. We're now operating completely off their radar. You spent 15 years planning revenge, Miguel concluded. I spent it preparing for war. The only question is, do you surrender to us, or do we keep you busy until the feds arrive? Thunder rolled across the darkened farm as the approaching storm mirrored the mounting tension. Cooper's forces had spread out, their training warring with their growing uncertainty. Without their technology, they were fighting blind against an enemy who knew every inch of the battlefield. Lightning in 5, Juan called through the family's comm system, initiating Operation Thunderbolt. The first lightning flash revealed the true extent of the Martinez family's preparations. Every piece of metal equipment on the farm had been positioned to create a maze of conductors and ground points. The professional soldiers found themselves trapped in a geometric pattern of lightning rods and electricity-attracting structures. They're pushing north, Anna reported from her backup monitoring station, trying to reach the road before the storm hits. Miguel's voice carried through their secured channel. Time to show them why farmers understand weather better than soldiers. Elena? Irrigation system charged, she confirmed. Salt water mix ready. Just need nature's help. Carlos had relocated to the grain silo's hidden tower. I count 23 targets, all moving in predictable patterns. They're scared of the lightning. As they should be, Miguel responded. Maria, are you in position? The harvester's engines roared to life from its underground bay. Ready to cut off their retreat once the fun starts. Cooper's voice crackled through their monitored channels, showing the first real edge of fear. Whatever you're planning, Ghost, remember I've still got enough evidence to bury your family. Check your phones, all of you. Miguel broadcast to all channels. Your secured servers just went dark. 15 years of blackmail material gone, and in its place, proof of every crime you've committed near my farm. The storm was directly overhead. Now, lightning illuminating the battlefield in stark flashes, the professional soldiers began to break formation, their training useless against the combined threats of nature and an invisible enemy. Federal response teams 10 minutes out. Anna updated. State police setting up roadblocks. A massive lightning bolt struck one of the strategically placed farm machines, the electricity arcing through the carefully laid network of conductors. The salt-water-soaked ground lit up with secondary discharges, driving Cooper's forces into a steadily shrinking safe zone. They're exactly where we want them, Miguel observed. Time to close the trap. Lightning crashed overhead as Cooper's forces found themselves herded into the central farmyard. Their sophisticated weapons and tactical gear had become liabilities, attracting electricity and limiting movement. The Martinez family had turned nature itself into a weapon. Ghost! Cooper's voice carried over the storm. Face me yourself. End this how it started, soldier to soldier. Miguel's voice remained calm in the family's comms. Everyone maintained positions. Cooper's desperate. That makes him dangerous. Dad, Carlos warned. He's got something in his hand. Looks like a dead man's switch. Elena's sharp intake of breath cut through the channel. The intel just came through. They planted explosives. Throughout the county, he's threatening civilian targets. The storm's intensity grew, but now it worked against the Martinez family. The lightning made it harder for Carlos to maintain his sight lines, and Juan's remaining drones struggled against the wind. Your move, Ghost, Cooper taunted. Your evidence won't matter much when half the county goes up in flames. Amazing what you can hide in grain silos and storage facilities over 15 years. Miguel's mind raced through scenarios, decades of tactical training clicking into place. Cooper had planned this fallback option carefully. Even if they took him down, the dead man's switch would trigger the explosives. "Anna," Miguel whispered through a private channel, "activate the EMP." "But, grandfather," the young girl protested, "that'll knock out all our systems too." "Do it." A high-pitched whine built up across the farm as hidden electromagnetic pulse generators spun to life. The Martinez family had prepared for this too, their crucial equipment housed in Faraday cages. The pulse hit like a physical wave. Every electronic device in range died instantly, including Cooper's detonator. In the sudden darkness, Miguel's voice rang out. "Now you've got nothing, Cooper. No evidence, no leverage, no bombs." "I've still got this." Cooper raised a rifle, firing wildly toward Miguel's voice. But the old warrior had already moved, decades of close-quarters combat training guiding his steps through the darkness. "Maria, now!" Miguel commanded. The harvester burst from its underground bay like a mechanical leviathan, its powerful lights running on protected circuits. Cooper's men, night-blind and disoriented, scattered before it. Carlos's voice came through their backup. "Radio? 5 targets down, the rest are surrendering." But Cooper himself charged toward the barn, years of hatred overriding tactical sense. He slammed through the door and found himself facing not just Miguel, but the entire Martinez family. "You're right about one thing," Miguel said softly. "This should end where it began, with a traitor facing justice." Cooper raised his rifle, but Elena was faster. Her taser struck him in the chest, the protected circuits still functioning after the EMP. As he convulsed, Maria and Carlos moved in to secure him. "Federal agents on final approach," Anna reported through their hardened communication system. 2 minutes out." "You don't understand," Cooper gasped through clenched teeth. "There's more than just me. More people who want your land, your roots. This isn't over." Miguel looked down at his former teammate, now a broken man consumed by revenge. "You're right, it's not over. Because now everyone knows what happens when they threaten my family." Lightning flashed one final time, illuminating the scene through the barn's windows. The Martinez family standing united, their farm transformed from a battlefield back into a sanctuary, and Cooper's forces on their knees in the mud. The first. Federal vehicles appeared on the horizon, their lights cutting through the storm. But they would find more than just criminals waiting for arrest. They would find a family that had turned their home into an impenetrable fortress, their agriculture into armor, and their love for each other into the deadliest weapon of all. "Check them for backup detonators," Miguel ordered as his family secured the prisoners. "Anna, start transmitting our evidence to the federal agents. Elena, we've got wounded to tend to." He paused, then added quietly, "And someone put on a pot of coffee. Something tells me this is going to be a long night of explaining." Dawn broke over the Martinez farm, the rising sun revealing the night's chaos. Federal agents swarmed the property, documenting evidence and processing prisoners. The storm had passed, leaving behind puddles that reflected the morning light and broken equipment that told the story of an unprecedented battle. Miguel stood on his porch watching as Cooper was led away in handcuffs. 15 years of shadows lifted from his shoulders. Elena worked alongside federal medics, treating the wounded, with the same care she'd shown in combat zones. Her reputation as a combat medic had earned immediate respect from the tactical response teams. "Sir," a federal agent approached Miguel, "we've confirmed active explosives in 12 locations across the county. Your family's actions saved countless lives." Carlos emerged from the barn, having finished securing their weapons. "The evidence is already making waves," he reported. 3 judges have been arrested, and there's talk of a congressional investigation. Maria parked the harvester. In its usual spot, the machine's battle scars, now badges of honor. The federal technicians couldn't help but admire the modifications she'd made. "They want to study our defensive systems," she said with a hint of pride. Apparently, we've invented some new tactical applications for agricultural equipment. One's last drone landed safely, its data already backing up the family's claims. The cartel connection is confirmed, he announced. Cooper's team was just the tip of the iceberg. Anna, the youngest but no less vital, monitored the news from her tablet. "They're calling us heroes," she said softly. "The family that protected their community by standing their ground." Miguel gathered his family close, their bond stronger than ever. The farm had been their fortress, their training ground, and now their vindication. Every drill, every modification, every lesson had served its purpose. "What happens now?" Maria asked, watching the sun climb higher. "We keep farming," Miguel replied with a smile. "We keep training. And we remind everyone that the strength of a family can't be measured in firepower or tactics, but in their willingness to stand together." The Martinez farm would never be just a farm again. It had become a symbol of preparation, of justice, and most importantly, of family. As the federal agents finished their work and the morning routine slowly resumed, one thing was clear. They had defended more than just their land. They had protected a way of life, a family's honor, and a community's safety. And somewhere in the morning breeze, beneath the rustle of corn stalks and the hum of farm equipment returning to its regular duties, there was a message for anyone else who might threaten this peace. Some families are better left alone.